I still remember the first time I saw her. Messy hair, worn-out shoes, eyes filled with silent pain. She looked so fragile, so helpless, like the world had crushed her, and she had nowhere left to go. "I don't have anyone," she had whispered that night, her voice trembling. "I don't even have money for dinner." My heart clenched. How could someone so beautiful be suffering like this? Without a second thought, I pulled out my wallet. That was the beginning of my downfall. At first it felt like love, pure, selfless, and real. I paid for her meals, bought her new clothes, even helped her get an apartment. She would smile at me, eyes glistening with gratitude, and every time, I felt like a hero. "I don't deserve you," she would say, holding my hand tightly. "You're the only one who's ever cared about me." I believed her. God, I was such a fool. One evening, I surprised her with a new phone. Her old one was practically falling apart, so I thought she'd be happy. Instead, she hesitated before accepting it, as if she didn't really need it. A strange feeling crept up my spine, but I shook it off. Then came the little things. Expensive perfume bottles appearing in her bathroom. Designer heels she swore were gifts from a friend. And then, one night, the moment that changed everything. I was heading home after work when I saw her, standing next to a sleek black Rolls-Royce. The driver? A billionaire I had seen on TV. She laughed the kind of laugh she had never given me. My stomach twisted. Had I been blind this whole time? My name is Daniel, and for the longest time, I believed in love, the kind of love where you give without expecting anything in return. I wasn't rich, but I made a decent living running my own small tech startup. I had worked hard for everything I had, and deep down, I always wanted to share my success with someone special. That's when I met Sophia. I remember that night like it was yesterday. It was raining heavily, and I had stopped by a small cafe for a quick coffee. That's when I saw her soaked, shivering, sitting alone in the corner with an untouched cup of tea in front of her. Her clothes were plain, her shoes had holes in them, and she looked exhausted, as if she hadn't eaten in days. But despite everything, she was breathtaking, long dark hair clinging to her pale skin, her deep brown eyes filled with sadness. Something about her pulled me in. I ordered an extra sandwich and walked over. "Hey, you look like you could use this." She hesitated at first, but then, with a soft, "Thank you," she took the food and started eating like she hadn't seen a meal in days. That night, she told me everything. She had no family, no job, and no money. She had moved to the city chasing a dream, but life had been cruel. Her landlord had kicked her out. She was living in a friend's spare room, barely surviving. "I don't know what to do anymore," she whispered, looking away. "I feel so useless." My heart ached for her. I knew what it was like to struggle. I had been there before. I wanted to help. That night was the start of something. I began taking care of her, little by little. I paid for her meals, helped her find a better place to stay, even bought her clothes when she hesitated at store windows. At first she resisted. "I don't want to be a burden," she would say. "You're not," I reassured her every time. And soon, she started to trust me. Sophia was soft-spoken but full of dreams. She wanted to be a writer, but life had forced her to put her dreams on hold. I admired that about her, the way she still believed, despite everything. We grew closer. Our late-night talks turned into long walks in the park. She laughed more, smiled more, and I fell. Hard. One evening, as we sat watching the sunset by the river, she reached over and took my hand. "Daniel," she said softly, "I don't know what I'd do without you." In that moment, I knew I wanted to give her the world. But I never stopped to ask myself, was she really as helpless as she seemed? I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white, as I watched Sophia lean into the car window, laughing a different kind of laugh, one I had never heard before. Carefree. Flirtatious. Not the struggling, helpless girl who once told me she had nothing. Then, to my horror, she kissed him. A slow, teasing peck on the lips before stepping back, tucking her hair behind her ear like she was shy, like she was in love. My stomach twisted. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I blinked, trying to convince myself I was seeing things wrong. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was just someone who looked like her. But then she turned, and our eyes met. For a split second, her expression froze. Shock. Then, in an instant, she recovered, flashing me a small, unreadable smile. Not fear, not guilt, just amusement. Like she had been caught in the middle of a harmless game. The billionaire in the car glanced at me briefly but didn't react. He didn't seem worried or surprised. Just indifferent, as if I wasn't even worth noticing. I should have walked up to them, demanded an explanation, yelled, screamed, something, but I couldn't move. I just sat there in my car, watching as she gave him one last smile, then turned and walked into a fancy rooftop restaurant one, far beyond anything I could ever afford. The realization hit me like a train. She wasn't broke. She was never broke. And worse, I had been nothing but a fool. The girl who claimed to have nothing had a billionaire waiting for her in a car that probably cost more than everything I had ever earned in my life. A sick feeling churned in my stomach as I drove away, my mind spinning with 100 questions. Who was she really? Had everything between us been a lie? And most importantly, was I just a stepping stone in her secret life? I drove aimlessly through the city, my mind in chaos. My hands trembled on the wheel, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Was I imagining things? No. I had seen it with my own eyes. Sophia. The woman who told me she had nothing, who I had taken care of, who I had loved kissing another man. Not just any man. A billionaire. My phone sat on the passenger seat, screen lighting up with her name. Sophia. Hey babe. Just got home. Are you coming over? I let out a hollow laugh. Home? Yeah, right. I gritted my teeth, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Me, where were you tonight? 3 dots appeared. Paused. Then disappeared. A few minutes later, she called. I stared at the screen, my jaw clenched. Should I answer? A war raged in my head. Should I confront her? Demand the truth? Or should I play along until I figured out who she really was? My fingers tightened into fists. I needed answers. I picked up. Hey, my voice was eerily calm. Daniel, she breathed, her voice soft, affectionate like nothing was wrong. I missed you. Why didn't you come over? My chest burned. How easily could she lie? Where were you tonight? I asked, voice sharp. A slight pause. Then she laughed lightly. What do you mean? I was at home, just waiting for you. My grip on the phone tightened. She didn't even hesitate. I took a slow breath, my mind racing. If I confronted her now, she'd lie. She'd twist the truth, make excuses, maybe even cry. But if I waited, if I played along, maybe I'd find out just how deep this deception went. All right, I said, forcing a smile into my voice. I'll see you tomorrow. I can't wait, she whispered. As I hung up, I felt cold all over. Sophia was hiding something, and I was about to find out exactly what it was. I didn't sleep at night. My mind kept replaying the moment Sophia kissed that man, the way she smiled as if she had nothing to hide. Was I just one of many? A fool she strung along while living a double life? I needed answers. The next day, I made a decision. I was going to follow her. At noon, I parked across from her apartment and waited. An hour later, she emerged dressed in an elegant black dress, her hair styled in waves, looking nothing like the broke woman who always borrowed my hoodies. I clenched my jaw and started my car, keeping a safe distance as she hailed a cab. 15 minutes later, she arrived at an upscale hotel. The kind where rooms cost more per night than my monthly rent. I watched from a distance as she stepped inside. My heart pounded. Who was she meeting? I hesitated only a moment before following her in. The lobby was grand with golden chandeliers and velvet carpets. A place meant for the rich. A place I didn't belong. I saw her at the reception desk talking to the concierge with a practiced smile. Then, she took the keycard and stepped into the elevator. Room P. She wasn't here for a lunch date. Something inside me snapped. I had to know the truth. I rushed to the front desk. "Excuse me. The woman who just checked in, what room is she in?" The receptionist eyed me suspiciously. "I'm sorry, sir. We can't disclose guest information." I exhaled sharply, my pulse racing. Then, just as I was about to give up, I saw someone from housekeeping pushing a cart toward the elevators. I acted on instinct. I slipped past security and followed the staff inside, holding my breath as the doors closed. The cart stopped at the penthouse suite. I barely had time to process it before the door opened and I saw him. The billionaire from last night. Standing in the doorway, dressed in nothing but a robe. And behind him, stepping into view, was Sophia wearing the same robe. I felt the ground vanish beneath me. She wasn't just seeing him, she was living with him. And all this time I had been nothing but her backup plan. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Sophia, the woman who once cried in my arms, telling me she had nothing, that she was struggling to survive, was standing in front of me in a penthouse suite, wearing another man's robe. Her eyes widened in shock. Not guilt, not fear, just surprise. "Daniel?" she breathed, as if she couldn't believe I was actually there. I clenched my fists, my entire body trembling. "So, this is where you've been?" My voice was eerily calm, but inside, I was burning. The billionaire, the man she had kissed the night before, leaned against the doorway, completely unfazed. He took a slow sip from a crystal glass, watching us like he was amused by the entire situation. "Do you two know each other?" he asked lazily, as if it was just a casual coincidence. Sophia hesitated for a fraction of a second, just long enough for the truth to hit me like a freight train. She never told him about me, because I was nothing to her. My jaw tightened. "Go ahead, Sophia. Tell him who I am." My voice was sharp, laced with the kind of pain that cut deep. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The silence was deafening. I let out a hollow laugh, shaking my head. "Let me guess, you were going to tell me some sob story about how I'm just misunderstanding everything?" She swallowed hard. "Daniel, please not hear why? Because you don't want your real boyfriend to hear the truth?" I snapped, my voice rising. She flinched, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes, and not regret, but panic. I turned to the billionaire. "Did she ever tell you she was broke? That she needed money?" He raised an eyebrow, his expression still unreadable. "No, Sophia has never needed anything from me. She has her own money." My stomach twisted. Her own money? I looked at her, realization crashing over me like a wave. "You were never broke, were you?" My voice was quieter now, raw with disbelief. Her lips parted, but she didn't deny it. She couldn't, because I already knew the answer. I felt my hands tremble. "So, everything you told me, everything we had, it was all a lie?" She took a step forward, reaching for me. "Daniel, please." I stepped back. "Don't. Just don't." My voice broke, and I hated myself for it. The billionaire sighed, setting his drink down. "Well, this has been fun, but I think it's time for you to leave." I turned to him, my blood boiling. "You think this is funny?" He smirked. "No, but I do think you're wasting your breath. Sophia has always known what she wants, and it isn't you." Sophia didn't say a word. That silence told me everything. A sharp pain stabbed through my chest, but I forced myself to straighten. I refused to let them see me break. I exhaled slowly, then turned to Sophia one last time. "I loved you," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "And you used me." For a second, something flickered in her eyes, but it was too late. I turned around and walked away. And this time, I wasn't looking back. I walked out of that penthouse with my heart shattered into a million pieces, but I refused to let them see me fall apart. As soon as I stepped onto the street, the cold air hit my face, grounding me. my fists clenched at my sides, my pulse still racing. Everything I thought I knew about Sophia had been a lie. She was never struggling. She was never in need. She played me, used me. I should have seen the signs. The way she always dodged questions about her past. How she never let me visit her apartment. How she always had excuses when I offered to help her find a better job. I thought I was saving her, but in reality, she never needed saving. I was just a pawn in her game. The weight of betrayal crushed me, but I wasn't going to let it define me. I had wasted enough time on a woman who never truly loved me. I took a deep breath and made a silent promise to myself this would not break me. 1 year later, I stepped out of my car, dressed in a sharp suit, confidence radiating from every step. A year ago, I was nothing more than a heartbroken fool, drowning in betrayal. But today, I was a different man. I had thrown myself into work, focusing on my goals, building myself up in ways I never thought possible. Success became my revenge, and it had paid off. I was now the owner of a thriving business, my name respected in the industry. I no longer played the role of the man who gave too much and got nothing in return. I had moved on. Or so I thought until I saw her again, Sophia. She was sitting alone at a high-end restaurant, sipping wine, dressed elegantly as always. But something was different. She looked tired, worn down, as if the world had finally caught up to her. She spotted me, and for a split second her eyes widened. Then, she quickly masked her expression, giving me a small smile. Daniel. Hearing her say my name didn't hurt anymore. I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down, my gaze steady. Sophia. She studied me, as if searching for traces of the man she had left behind. But that man was long gone. He looked different, she said softly. I smirked. Success tends to do that. Her fingers tightened around her glass. I heard about you. Your company's making waves. I nodded. And what about you? Still playing games with men who don't know any better? She flinched, but quickly covered it up with a chuckle. I guess I deserve that. I leaned back, watching her. Why did you do it, Sophia? Why pretend to be someone you weren't? She sighed, swirling her wine. Because it was easy. She met my gaze, and for the first time, I saw something real in her expression regret. I always thought love was a game, that men would leave the moment they got bored. So, I took what I could before that happened. She let out a bitter laugh. But you were different, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. I studied her, but I felt nothing. No anger. No pain. Just clarity. I had spent so long wondering what I did wrong. But now I saw the truth. It was never about me. It was always about her. I stood up, pulling a few bills from my wallet and placing them on the table. Take care, Sophia. She looked up, her eyes searching mine. That's it? After everything? I gave her a small smile. I don't hate you, but I don't love you either. And with that, I walked away. This time, for good.